We got a Fed chief that they're looking to fire. Now, as long as I have known Donald Trump, I'm going to qualify this by saying, as long as I have known him, he has been very unhappy with low interest rates, right? Because he likes, forgive me, high interest rates. He likes low interest rates, like as low as you can go, baby, because that means it kind of frees things up. It adds more liquidity to the economy. If you're a real estate developer, of course, you love low interest rates because why? Low interest rates enable you to borrow and then build big properties, and you kind of are able to build those properties at a low rate, in part because of the leverage that the government's helping you provide. Well, you look here, can you guys see this? I want to show you what the headlines are on everything from, say, like the Wall Street Journal right now, where you see, oh, they've got the Hexas story too. You can see that the headlines are all about, well, they were, forgive me, they were, there we go, I had scrolled down too far. You see Dow tumbles, dollar slides as Trump renews attack on Fed. We've got the market off more than 3% on the Dow, 3% on the S&P, nearly 5% on the NASDAQ. This is a big day, okay? This is not necessarily a good thing. You do see people, however, flocking into treasuries because the yield has come down on the 10-year. That's actually a positive sign. VIX back up nearly 20% at 35 on the VIX. That's the fear gauge, okay? That's the volatility index. You've got gold surging. We've been talking about that. I have a gold advertiser, which is, I would talk about gold if I didn't have a gold advertiser because I'm just such a big believer in gold. I just didn't think it was going to be this big a deal, shall we say, this fast, this soon, but I'm still liking gold right now because, again, Goldman has a note on 4,000. It's what you want to own in the case of really troubling times. You get the Dow tumbling. You get the dollar sliding. When I'm in my spare time saying, well, I'm going to buy the FXC, which is a hedge on the euro dollar situation, I think that tells you something. It tells you a little something, right? Because anybody who's going overseas this summer for a vacation, you might want to make sure that you've got enough euros to do so because the US dollar is tumbling. And again, it's on, I'm just going to go back to this because it really is on concerns about the attack on the Federal Reserve. Donald Trump is not a fan of Jerome Powell. So there's this sort of sell America trade that's going on. You get a lot of hedge funds right now saying, okay, I'm shorting the dollar. You've got a lot of people just, I talked to a friend in Argentina who told me everybody's suddenly saving in euros. This hasn't happened since Tom Brady and Giselle? Remember when Giselle wanted her divorce settlement in euros? This hasn't happened in a while, but markets are on edge, and this is from the Wall Street Journal, about President Trump's tariff war, as well as his threats to fire Fed Chief Jerome Powell. Trump on Monday demanded lower rates in a post on social media, saying costs are trending downward and the economy could slow unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates now. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you about that one. It is true that Jerome Powell has a tendency to be really, really late. And he always has a tendency to do too much. And this is not particular to Jerome. This is the Fed in general. This is always what happens. It's like day late, dollar short, or maybe too many dollars too much, because they come in late to the party and then all of a sudden they have to make up for lost ground because they're not looking at real-time data. The real-time data actually suggests the economy is slowing and inflation is zilch. We got no inflation right now. So if you have no inflation and your economy is slowing, wouldn't you logically then move? Powell's like, no, I'm not doing it. And so when he says I'm not doing it, Donald Trump gets a little bit annoyed and he starts to talk more and more about firing him. And now it's called into question whether or not he really could. But the fact that they're even calling it into question, I don't think he would, by the way. I think that he will do something a little bit more different, which is undermine him, and kind of prop up the guy who they think is going to be the new one, Kevin Warsh. And he's a former Fed governor and married into the Estee Lauder fortune. But great pedigree, I think Stanford, Harvard, all that business. He believes in sound money. Oh, imagine that. Somebody at the Federal Reserve who believes in sound money? Yeah, really. So I'm guessing he might like gold, or at least it believes in some kind of sound money, the dollar not just being, manipulated at will, although you could argue that they're sort of manipulating the dollar right about now, are they not, by trying to depress it? I would say the ECB was trying to manipulated on Friday, coming out with a rate cut, but it didn't do much good. No, in fact, people now, they keep looking at what's going on and they keep coming back to the idea of, okay, we need gold. And that's why gold is shooting up more than 3% in today's market. And they're getting nervous. As Rob, my colleague at 76 Research, let me give a quick just sort of a plug for American Hartford Gold, which is one of our sponsors. As you well know, right? Trish loves gold, trishlovesgold.com. Talk to them because you can get, with my name, helps to know people, up to $15,000 in free silver by using my name, going to trishlovesgold.com, or just typing in the word Trish by going over and texting them at 65532. You'd think I'd know that by right now. 65532. Call them at 1-844-495-1115. But I was talking actually with Rob this morning and some other investors. And one of the things that came up in our discussion was, wait a second, I should say markets start volatile week. One of the things that came up in the discussion was, do you really think for 1 second you're going to have people that are preferring to invest in, French equities over Microsoft? Probably not long term, right? So Donald Trump knows he's got a little room to maneuver here, shall we say. And ultimately, while it may be in vogue right now to be anti-America, are you really going to bet against America for the long term? I don't think so. And it's why I want you to consider looking at 76 Research. Again, I've told you about our portfolios, which have all performed really well in the face of this craziness. But the craziness is going to continue. I do anticipate that, and it's not really craziness. It's just that there's a lot that they're trying to do, and it's different, right? And as soon as something's different, people start to freak out. It had to happen, though. You think about Donald Trump being elected at this point in time, in this moment in history, and I think it had to happen in part when you look at where the world was going.